Hello everyone, I'm Jack Fisher and welcome to my world. And for any world to prosper, it needs both rules and rulers. I know anarchists and extreme libertarians may claim otherwise, but practically speaking, we need someone, usually multiple someones, to keep the peace and protect the people. That's not a political statement, it's just common sense. With that in mind, I'd like to ask a few relevant questions. What would you say about someone who's so smart, so capable, so effective, tenacious, and cunning that few can ever hope to be on that level? Building on that, what would you say if this person sought to rule the world and rule it better than anyone ever has or could hope to? And finally, would you be willing to live under that person's rule if you knew that doing so would guarantee perfect safety, security, and prosperity? Depending on where you live and what sort of politics you're used to, chances are you'd be on board with someone like that being in charge. It's somewhat ingrained in us, especially in the modern era. We long to live under a strong, stable, prosperous system, regardless of whether it's a democracy, a monarchy, a republic, or some assorted combination. Anyone who can rule our domain and rule it effectively isn't just embraced, they're celebrated. It's why we idolize fictional rulers like T'Challa, the Black Panther, or the legendary King Arthur. However, the individual I just described isn't some noble king from some proud lineage. They're not some beloved superhero either. Steve Rogers is a great soldier and leader. Tony Stark is a great billionaire playboy philanthropist. Superman is a great beacon of truth, justice, and the American way. But they're not capable rulers. Not to the level this character is, anyway. And that character is Victor Von Doom, aka Dr. Doom. Now, before I make my case, I want to establish some important context, because even if you're not a fan of superhero comics, you probably know who Dr. Doom is. Yes, he's the primary antagonist of the Fantastic Four, but take it from a lifelong comic book fan. He's much more than that. By almost every measure, Dr. Doom is one of Marvel's greatest and most menacing supervillains. In terms of his overall story and his exploits over the years, he is in the uppermost echelon of villainy. In any ranking of all-time comic book villains, Dr. Doom is usually ranked near the top alongside Thanos, Lex Luthor, and Darkseid. But, and this is why those questions I asked matter, if his primary goal is to rule the world better than anyone else ever has, can he really be a villain? It's not a rhetorical question, not entirely anyways. I'd even argue it's more relevant now than it was when Dr. Doom first debuted in 1962, a la Fantastic Four number 5. These days, we're more aware than ever of just how inept our rulers are. Whether they're kings, presidents, prime ministers, or generals, we know their shortcomings. It's a lot harder to hide them in the age of the internet, social media, and news leaks. Many still try, most fail in the long run. But Dr. Doom is on another level. Even by the skewed standards of fictional characters, he's in a class all his own when it comes to ruling over others. He's been a king for his home nation, Latveria. He's ruled the entire world in multiple timelines. He even ruled the entire multiverse for a time, becoming a de facto god. See 2015 Secret Wars for that story. Now say what you will about his methods, there's no denying this guy's ambition. That says a lot about just who Doom is and what drives him. But ambition and ego aside, it's worth taking a step back to look at the bigger picture. Throughout history, even outside the realm of superhero comics, there have been plenty of ambitious villains, and even a few anti-heroes, who have sought to rule the world. Their methods vary, as well as their governing style. Some are ruthless, sadistic dictators in the mold of Darkseid. Some are capable, but only to an extent. Their desire to rule the world is less about being a good ruler and more about just opposing the heroes. But Dr. Doom is different. In terms of motivations and backstory, his push to rule the world stands out more than most. To get a comprehensive understanding of his origins, I highly recommend Watch Mojo's breakdown, which I'll link in the description for anyone who's curious. But in this case, the only details you need to know is that Doom was born into poverty. He endured hardship and suffering at the hands of oppressive rulers. Despite these circumstances, he went on to master science, magic, and everything in between. becoming so capable and so powerful that few opposed him when he took over his home country, Latveria. And once he succeeded, he revealed something important about his governing style. Dr. Doom, as menacing as he can be at times, is genuinely dedicated to the well-being of his people. This has been highlighted in multiple comics through multiple authors. He is shown to be an effective ruler by any measure, and his people love him for it. He doesn't force them to worship him every hour of every day, but because he's so effective, he really doesn't have to. Doom makes sure that every Latverian citizen is free from want and suffering. Under his rule, they're all safe, secure, and able to prosper. Having endured so much oppression as a boy, he makes it a point to spare his people that experience. It's a feat that many idealistic rulers try to achieve. Nearly all of them fail. The sheer logistics of ruling a society, even a small country, is just so daunting. The bureaucracy, the infrastructure, finding advisors and aides you can trust. It's incredibly challenging, even for someone with superpowers. But it's not for Victor Von Doom. He doesn't need advisors. He's one of the smartest individuals in the entire Marvel Universe. He doesn't need aides or administrators either. He has his own personal army of robots and Doombots, each fully capable of carrying out his will to the letter. His mastery of science and sorcery ensures that he can overcome, resolve, or work through any issue, from logistics to dealing with outside threats. And, unlike other superheroes or well-meaning rulers, he's willing to cross lines when necessary to get the job done. So long as it serves his people, his homeland, and his ego, nothing stops him. Many try, but few outside the Fantastic Four and a fully assembled team of Avengers ever succeed. Now, for a moment, set aside the standard dynamics of a superhero story. Ignore, if you can, Dr. Doom's role and label as a world-threatening supervillain. This is someone with a rare set of abilities that allows him to not just rule a country, but help it thrive in every sense of the word. I mean, think about it. What do you need for a country to prosper? Look at all the criteria. Dr. Doom meets and exceeds every one of them. Providing strong defense and ensuring public safety, Dr. Doom definitely has that covered. He's taken down the Avengers, Space Gods, and Thanos. Under him, you literally cannot get any safer. Implementing simple, fair laws that are effectively enforced. Like I said earlier, Doom has an endless army of Doombots to enforce the law with perfect efficiency. While he's really big on specifics, he's never one to micromanage his citizens' lives. So long as you respect his authority and acknowledge his greatness, you're basically free to do whatever you want. In terms of laws, that's as simple and fair as it can get. Providing welfare and public health, these may be daunting issues for most governments, but not for Dr. Doom. With his mastery of science and sorcery, he can pretty much do anything. He can cure disease, produce any good, and solve any problem. Whatever issue comes along, Doom can address it without any debates, committees, or bureaucracy. His citizens trust in him, and Doom proves time and again that he's a man of his word. That's more than most citizens can say of their rulers these days, and every Latverian is better off because of Doom. In essence, Dr. Doom is the perfect ruler, more so than King T'Challa, King Arthur, or any of the legendary kings crafted by J.R. Tolkien. He's capable of carrying out any duty required of a ruler. He's also willing to do what's necessary to get the job done, including things superheroes and idealists are reluctant to do. In that context, can you really consider Doom a villain when he's trying to take over the world? Sure, he's a villain in other respects. Throughout his lengthy history, he has done some objectively terrible things. Look up a Fantastic Four story called Unthinkable for a prime example. Then again, many superheroes have also done questionable things, to say nothing of the crimes committed by real-world rulers. And this line of thinking isn't just some contrived headcanon among fans. Stan Lee himself, Dr. Doom's co-creator and the arbiter of all things Marvel, has publicly stated that Dr. Doom isn't really a villain. These are his exact words.
Knowledge, man wants to rule the world. And he's one of Marvel's worst villains, biggest villains. But if you really think about it, those of you who are scholars and who really specialize in legal matters, you You could walk up to any policeman in any city and you could say, "Officer, I want to rule the world." It's not a crime. He couldn't do anything to you. You could want to rule the world, and you could say that. Nobody would do anything. So if you really think about it, Dr. Doom, who's one of the world's worst criminals, doesn't do anything you could be arrested for. Now, DC never dreamed up a character like that.
And if the words of Stan the man himself aren't enough, consider this. Back in 2010, there was a major crossover story fittingly called Doom War that revealed something profound. Bast, the Panther God, looked into many futures, not unlike what Doctor Strange did in Avengers Infinity War. And in doing so, he saw that there was only one future in which humanity was free from want and suffering, and that future was one ruled by Doctor Doom. Both fictional gods and Stan Lee agree. Doctor Doom is the ultimate ruler. He's the only one capable of taking over the world, ruling it effectively, and ensuring that the whole of humanity prospers. If that's his endgame, does the villain label even apply? Would that actually make heroes like the Avengers and Fantastic Four villains for opposing him? If someone takes over the world from a host of imperfect rulers, and subsequently governs it as a perfect ruler, then wouldn't that make them the ultimate hero by default? It's a question worth pondering. Doctor Doom may have many villainous traits, more so than most even. But in the real and fictional world, how many problems occur because of flawed or corrupt rulers? Who hasn't longed for a leader whose rule is so effective that no one in society suffers? Yes, superheroes may save the day, but they often stop short at large-scale societal reform. They'll protect the people, yes, but they'll stop short of improving a government that's just not doing enough. In a sense, those heroes are just perpetuating a cycle, ensuring the same system and all its flaws continue. Dr. Doom wants to destroy that system and install his own, one which, according to the Panther God, will actually work better. If that's not heroic, then what is? Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for joining me in my world. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Take care, stay safe, and all hail Lord Doom.